Hey everyone, I'm Kevin with JcrOffroad. In this video, I'm going to walk you through our Crusader slider install for both 2- and 4-door Broncos. So we'll begin by installing the logo tread plate. This should just line up with the pre-cut holes here in the top of the slider, and then it'll install with the 1/4-inch button head bolts and 1/4-inch flange nuts on the inside. We're going to go ahead and get all these started by hand before we tighten anything up. Once they're all started, grab a 5/32 hex to tighten everything up. Next, we'll install the rock lights into the slider. Be sure to remove the blue plastic cover beforehand. And then you can take one of the bolts with a plastic washer, run that through from the outside, and line up the light on this inside face. Then with the stainless washer and nylock nut, go ahead and start that on the inside. We'll do the same thing over here. Then these can be tightened with a 3mm hex and an 8mm wrench here on the inside. Now you just want to be sure as you're tightening these up that you're keeping the face of this light flat to this inside face of the slider. Now we can tie up this wire until we get the slider installed and go do the same thing with our other 3 lights. With all that in place, we'll go get the slider legs installed on the vehicle. All right, so we're going to start here by installing the front leg. Before that can go on, you're going to want to remove the 2 clips right here holding this wire harness to the frame, along with one that's going to need to be pushed up holding this section down to the body mount. All right, so you'll start by grabbing this front mount. You can slide it up in place, and this basically butts up tight to the bottom of the frame. This flange will butt tight to this front body mount, and that'll help you identify which mounting hole you're going to use first right here. You can then pull this out of the way, and you'll need to clearance this out to 7/16 and then thread in one of the 1/2-inch thread cutting bolts. Now these thread cutting bolts, you'll just need a 3/4 socket, and then they can be ran in using an impact. Now once you get the threads cut in there, go ahead and back that out, and then we can put the bracket up in place and use that to hold it loosely. So now with your bracket held in place on this front bolt, you're going to need to mark these 4 hole locations. Then come back and drill these 3 to 7/16 to accept these 1/2-inch thread cutting bolts, and the front hole will get opened up to accept a standard 1/2-inch hex bolt all the way through. Once you have all those started, grab a 3/4 socket and you can run all these tight, and then you'll have to grab a wrench to finish this one up in the front. Then this rear wire harness clip can be reinstalled to the frame along with the front body mount clip. After that, you can move to installing the rear bracket. So moving back here to the rear, you're going to need to remove this rearmost clip in the wire harness to get that out of the way. Then your bracket can be slid up here in place. This 90 flange will be towards the front of the bracket. You're going to be lining it up with these two large openings here in the frame. And then you'll pass your 4.5 inch long, 1/2 inch bolt with a washer all the way through. On the back side, you'll be using this square washer along with a serrated flange nut to hold this bracket in place. And then I just want to point out here on the driver's side, we're going to be using the forwardmost hole here at the top of the bracket. On the passenger side, you'll use this center mounting hole. Once those are in place, you're going to want to push this bracket up tight to the frame. Make sure it's centered the best you can in these two openings. And then you'll snug these two bolts up for now. So then we can install the slider boat to the mounting brackets. And then the last thing we do will be to come back and drill and tap this bottom mounting hole. The reason we're going to wait and do that is so that if we need to make any minor adjustments in the location of this back leg, we still have that ability all the way up until the end. So the only real difference in this rear slider leg here on the passenger side, you'll line it up similarly with these two holes on the frame, and then you will have one factory mounting hole here in the bottom that you can thread the supplied M12 bolt through with a washer. That'll hold it in place while you then pass your long full frame width bolts through here. Now, if yours is equipped with a factory gas tank skid, or you're going to be installing our aftermarket skid, you're going to need to make sure that this gets installed between that fuel tank skid and the frame. Also, if you have that factory skid, you'll already have a bolt here that can be reused. All right, now on the two-door passenger side rear mounting leg, you're going to need to locate it using the rear mounting hole here on this bottom flange. That will correlate with this tank skid mounting location. Once you bolt that up in place between the skid and the frame, if yours is equipped with a fuel tank skid already. So once it's mounted in place with the bottom bolt, you'll need to mark and drill these two holes to 7/16 so that they can accept two more of those 1/2 inch thread cutting bolts. The reason this side's going to mount just a little bit differently is because here on the two-door, you do not have the room between the fuel tank and the frame to get the nuts and the backer plates up in there. Now we can get the slider lifted up in place next to these brackets. I'm going to do this obviously with this jack. You can enlist the help of a friend. And then I'm going to have to go from the back side, install this 1/2-inch carriage bolt running from the outside in. And then once you get that passed through the frame mounted bracket, install a 1/2-inch flange nut on the inside. Once you get all of those started, you'll just want to make sure that this is centered front to rear. And then you can go back and tighten all this slider to slider leg hardware. For that, you can use a 3/4 inch socket, run all the way along the bottom hardware, and then you'll probably have to have a wrench to get to the top stuff. So now we can come back and drill this bottom mounting hole to 7/16 and install another 1/2-inch thread cutting bolt. So once you get that installed, the last thing you're going to have to do is come back and wire in your rock lights. Now how you choose to do that is totally up to you. If your Bronco is equipped with the factory accessory switches, that's super easy. Just find a spot to tie into those and put them on a switch. Once that's done, that'll complete your install. So if you guys have any questions about this slider install or any other product we offer here at JCR Off-Road, feel free to reach out to us. You can send us an email at info@jcroffroad.com or give us a phone call at 269-353-1184.